time-honored tradition to run against Washington, even if you've been in Congress and probably had to go to a lot of fundraisers? Yes. So run against the Washington elites, run against the establishment while raking in big contributions from rich Republicans who don't want Donald Trump to be the nominee again.
Kind of trying to appeal to those who have for years become frustrated with the so-called sort of coastal elites in a way, and the politicians they feel have become disengaged with their lives and what they know. And again, that's sort of another example, going back to the previous point, of trying to appeal to some of the Trump base while also engaging in a tit for tat with that specific.
Right, and that is his lane. His lane is, I'm like Trump policy-wise. I'll give you everything with, but I actually get things done. And I don't tweet all the time, and there's no drama. I will actually get things done. That's his lane. The question is, how many other lanes are there? The Republican voters want people in other lanes. One of the potentials is Liz Cheney, who is a never-Trumper, which means she probably would never get on a debate stage because she wouldn't sign a pledge out of it because Trump being the nominee. But she went after DeSantis, who in an earlier interview or a questionnaire returned to Trump also referred to the Ukraine was a territorial dispute. I would have a hard time supporting any candidate who was unclear about the importance of America's defense of Ukraine. It'd be hard for me to imagine supporting anybody who thought that it was a territorial dispute. One of the challenges for Liz Cheney is that we still don't know, is she going to run or is she just going to comment on the race from the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, the other challenge for Liz Cheney, right, is that she has been tested with conservative voters and she did not win that contest. And I think for her, she's going to stick out her lane as a traditional Republican on foreign policy. And there is room for that, right? Because obviously DeSantis and Trump are in a different spot than many other Republicans. And we've talked a lot about the fact that this is really a moment for the Republican Party to decide which direction they're going to go in. So there's probably room for someone like Liz Cheney, but I don't think it's really clear yet what her plan is.
And is there room for Nikki Haley in the sense that, again, former governor of South Carolina, former ambassador to the United Nations, the only other serious vote of Swami, but somebody with a political background who's in the race, already declared the race. Look at this. This is from a political count. 16 events in Iowa by mid-April. She is the former governor of South Carolina, which comes third. She's trying to do this the old-fashioned way. Surprise in Iowa, and then have your state to fall back on. The question is, that's the way you did it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Can you do that in today's politics with Trump and DeSantis at the top of the pack?
When American politics are so nationalized now, it's a good question. Will Iowa grab back its ability to shape the race by one handshake at a time, Jimmy Carter style? I don't know about that because in 2015 and 2016. Former President Trump became the nominee, did decently well in Iowa by flying into the Iowa State Fair in a helicopter, which is not exactly retail politics.
Different. We did it different. I'm going to school down. I'm going to see if the old school was more. We shall see. When we come back, you know what this segment is Friday. Ovicello, Senator Kirsten Sinema pokes fun at her colleagues, and yes, at a culinary treasure.
What's the number one retinol brand used most by dermatologists? It's Neutrogena. Rapid wrinkle repair smooths the look of fine lines in 1 week, 15 wrinkles in 4. So you can kiss wrinkles goodbye. Neutrogena.
Let's get started. Bill, where's your bath?
I really tried sleeping with it, everybody. Now I sleep with Inspire.
Inspire? No math?
Just sleep.
Learn more at the importance of information at InspireSleep.com. You never know what opportunities life will send your way. But if you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis, Envo can help you say, I'm in for what's next. Willing to put yourself out there to try something new? I'm in. Care for a seat at the Thursday night game? I'm in. Upgrade your home court? I'm in. Envo helps relieve joint pain and helps stop permanent joint damage. And with less pain, you're free to join in. Envo may lower your ability to fight infections. Serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace where fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Envo if you have an infection like the flu. When opportunities come your way, be ready to say, I'm in for what's next. Ask your doctor about Envo.
This is our premium platinum coverage map, but this is consumer cellulose map.
I don't see the difference to you.
Well, that one's purple.
Get the exact same coverage as the nation's leading carrier, starting at $20. Consumer Cellular.
get a sign the universe is trying to tell you something?
You're all around us.
Not that one. That's the one. The University of Phoenix. Your master's degree. It's a year for $111K. Or more at Phoenix.edu.
Philip is my best friend.
He likes me.
Dude, I'm not accusing you of it. How many times do I have to tell you I am not consenting?
He must be brought to heal before it's too late.
I'm trying to get a kid.
Give me one reason why.
Sometimes you're so busy taking care of everyone else, you don't do enough for yourself or your health. But eventually it will reward you. When it does, Aspen Dental is here for you. We offer the custom dental treatments you need, all under one roof, right nearby, so we can bring more life to your smile and more smile to your life. Affordably, new patients without insurance can get a free complete exam and x-rays and 20% off through their plans. Aspen Dental, anything to make you smile. Schedule your appointment today.
The seats back up. What play is that? You play here, no back there. Anyway.
I can't make this. This is 2023, so 2017.
We gotta find new ground.
We're dealing with potential Armageddon. This is outside of law. HBO's Overtime with Bill Maher, now on CNN tonight at 11:30.
It's not just a pilot, it's your pilot. And even though we're in a road one of their largest offers, all that matters to us is you and your things. Make one call, that's all.
Signature for under $45 a month during our exclusive signature-only event. Add some sparkle with this beautifully detailed dining room featuring an extendable table and 6 chairs. Create the bedroom of your dreams with this incredible 4-piece set and customize this super comfortable oversized sectional. Get 72 months interest-free financing with no money down and only your signature at More Furniture. Visit morefurniture.com to preview all specials.
When experience and poor results means nothing. At Learner Row, we recovered billions of dollars for over 150,000 clients. And that's the result here.
44. Viva Longoria, searching for Mexico. Premieres Sunday at 10 on CNN.
Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema has been telling influential Republicans she has no regrets about ditching the Democrats. According to Politico Jonathan Martin, Sinema privately trashing Democrats from the leader Chuck Schumer to her influential moderate colleague Joe Manchin. Martin, of course, she told this to a room of office that she's very happy to skip her former party's weekly lunches, saying, quote, "Old dudes are eating Jell-O. Everyone is talking about how great they are. That's an hour and a half twice a week that I could get back." Democrats are not taking this too seriously. You see it right there. That's Senator Tina Smith joking. But on the menu of yesterday's Democratic lunch, yes, right there, red Jell-O. Cinema, then retweeting that for the private promotion. Our reporters are back at the table. This is funny. This is funny, but it's about something. Yes, we have props. We have Jell-O, we have food. We have in the King household growing up. We did the old-fashioned way. We made it out of the powder in a box, not maybe through the brothers. But Democrats are trying to let this roll off because they need the vote on most states. But they cannot be happy that she's now an independent and she's trashing them in meetings with lobbyists while she's raising money.
Yeah, I mean, she's using it, right, to sort of paint this picture that she's an outsider, that she's above the fray, that she's not just falling in line with Chuck Schumer every single time. And yeah, I mean, I think it seems a little bit, right? Our colleague Ted Barrett tried to ask Schumer about this yesterday. All he would say is that he's a very effective lawmaker. But it doesn't feel great when your colleague is trashing you. And as somebody who stands outside those hour-and-a-half lunches every single week, I mean, they do have a lot of substantive policy discussions as part of those lunches. They've dealt with a lot of issues among their own party in those lunches. They're important. And so the fact that you're skipping them every time, you know, I do think that it shows.
The makers of Jell-O are very happy that you said Jell-O goes with substance. That's good. In J. Mark's piece, so again, we're having fun with this, but it's also very important that conversation. She's an independent. She has not declared whether she's going to run for the election, but that's hard. That's hard to run the state, and if you're running as a third-party candidates essentially. One of her colleagues quoted in the piece by Jonathan Martin, one of her Democratic colleagues, who confirmed moderate only in private authority was here about Senator. She's the biggest egomaniac in the Senate. There are a lot of big egos in politics, but so some people understand this is the brand, some people don't like it.
Absolutely. I mean, we were saying this may sting here. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen a member of a party criticize, the White House, even if there's a Democrat in the White House. But I mean, this goes beyond that. In that piece, J-Mark's reporting as well that she's criticizing Ron Klain as well during a judicial appointment, even putting up, giving the finger at one point in front of a crowd, criticizing various aspects of the administration and the White House. We knew, or really, the Sanders said that when she moved over to being independent, that she still would be aligned with the party, and also she acknowledges that really that's for committee purposes as well.
But she got to keep her committee assignments. They need her vote, and yet she feels free to pour salt, or shall we say jello, in the wounds. The question is, what about the Republicans who would like to win that seat back? So if you're Mitch McConnell, you try to get Senator Sinema to switch parties. He's so no inclination to do that. If you're Mitch McConnell, you look at the potential list. He's worried that Carrie Lake may run again. Was she the last one yet? Blake Masters, he ran for Senate. Carrie Lake ran for governor. There are some other candidates on there who might be more acceptable to Mitch McConnell, but the easy way would be to get Senator Sinema, who's won the seat, to switch over, but you risk that rotation.
Is that really the easy way? That is my question, because she has clearly shown that she has a very strong independent streak, and she has cultivated that brand. So it's not like she would be a reliable Republican vote if she changed parties. And that caucus would face all of the same challenges that Democrats are currently facing. It isn't clear whether she's going to run. It is clear that she would be, with this move, avoiding a Democratic primary that would have been quite easy and problematic.
Right, and so that, you know her well. You know her party as well as anybody. Is she going to run? And could this happen? This can happen because the Democrats can't get the Republican House, the Democratic Senate. It's not a lot of big policy going to get picked on anyway. So it doesn't become as important. So I guess you can have more support. But she's gonna break some friendships here.
Well, I think she probably already has in some ways, right? And the question of is she going to run, I don't think we have enough insight at this moment what her decision-making process is going to look like. But she doesn't have to be committed for a long time. She's got a lot of room to sort of flirt and entertain with the ideas of what would it be like if I ran, what would it be like if I didn't. So I think there's a lot of questions right now about how she's being perceived in her party, but also how she feels with her party. When you would watch her before, she spends as much time on the Republican side of the aisle as she does with her Democratic colleagues. That's been true before she declared she was an independent. That was always how she functioned. And the reality is, when Chuck Schumer says she's an expert legislator, he's not lying. I mean, she's been at the forefront of every bipartisan negotiation that has happened and been signed by the White House.
It's different, which is what makes it interesting. The politics are interesting. Red color, blue color. Preference?
That always. Not if it's really
only my brothers. Only my brother. He was once the face of an international political battle. Now, get this. Elian Gonzalez. Yes, that Elian Gonzalez. That become a lawmaker.
What's the number one retinol brand used most by dermatologists? It's Neutrogena. Rapid wrinkle repair smooths the look of fine lines in 1 week, leaving wrinkles in 4. So you can kiss wrinkles goodbye. Neutrogena. Introducing new sweet and savory crepes. For a limited time, buy one get one free. With 5 flavors that are delicious any time of day. Only from IHOP. Download the app and then free food with every order.
And then, nice face. Clearly you're a safe driver. You could save hundreds for safe driving good and neutral.
They customize the car first, so you only pay for what you need. Woo! You gotta go get it.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
The first time you connected your GoDaddy website and your store was also the first time you realized
We can do anything. Choose good cookies.
Chucky.
Manage all your sales from one place with a burger that always puts you first. Start today at GoDaddy.com. To learn more, visit Celebrity.com. Call 1-800-CELEBRITY or contact your travel advisor.
Double check that. Pretty good. What was that? What? No, worry about that. Here we go.
Asking the right question and great. If you try,
Are you qualified to do this? What?
especially when it comes to your finances.
Yeah.
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. I'm a good CFP professional, and let's make a plan now.
We love the environment. We work to protect it. The Subaru Solterra electric SUV. Subaru's first all-electric, zero-emissions SUV.
Yes, it has got to do.
Built to help you protect the environment as you explore it. Love is what makes Subaru Subaru.
Ready for any landscape challenge. Right now, save $50 on the FSA 57 battery trimmer. Only at your local steel dealer. Comedy's biggest stars are coming to CNN. The Kennedy Center presents the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, celebrating Adam Sandler.
Good job in heavy, Kennedy Center. What have you done?
Your career has stood the test of time, my friend.
With special guests, music, and more. The Mark Twain Prize for American Humor, celebrating Adam Sandler. Sunday at 8, exclusively on CNN. Wells Fargo, presenting sponsor of the Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize. Shave Silverado and New Silverado HD. Choose your own path with the #1 best-selling retail full-size pickup and see where it takes you. Find new roads. The Chevy truck season with 0% financing plus make no monthly payments for 90 days on all Silverado 1500 pickups or get $27.50 total cash allowance on this Silverado with turbo hybrid protection. See more Worthy Chevrolet. More Furniture is making it easy to get all of our newest spring arrivals into your home for summer entertainment during our exclusive signature-only event. Get 72 months interest-free financing with no money down and only your signature. Spring arrivals are in stock and ready for delivery, just in time for the refresh season. So why not get all the looks we love with only your signature? It takes 72 months to pay. Visit morefurniture.com to fill your shopping cart or chat online with a design specialist today. Ted Lasso's Jason Sudeikis joins Chase Tapp with CNN Paltrow tonight at 9.
Topping our political radar today, the House approving a so-called parental rights bill. The Republican-led measure would require schools to provide parents with lists of books available to students and to publicly post the curriculum. And most schools would have to obtain parental consent to use a minor's preferred pronoun. The legislation is certain to be ignored by the Democratic-controlled Senate. The avowed Congressman George Santos has reached a deal and will avoid fraud charges against him in Brazil. Santos' attorneys say he will now formally agree to confess to the 2008 crime of defrauding a clerk $1,300 for shoes and for clothes. He will also pay damage to the victim. Elian Gonzalez, the boy whose custody battle rocked the United States and Cuba, now poised to become a Cuban lawmaker. The country is set to hold elections on Sunday, and last month, the now 29-year-old Gonzalez was nominated to the National Assembly. Back in 1999, Gonzalez was rescued off the Florida coast when a boat carrying his mother and 9 others capsized. It set off a months-long tense custody battle between distant relatives in Miami and his father in Cuba. Thanks for your time today on This Week on Inside Politics. Try to have a peaceful weekend. If you want to pick up on coverage, right now.
Hi, I'm Brianna Keeler in Washington. The U.S. military strikes back. The Pentagon says an American contractor was killed and 5 U.S. service members injured when an Iranian-made drone struck a base in northeastern Syria. The U.S. then retaliated with an airstrike to the south. Recent video posted online reportedly captures the strike on one facility linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard in Syria. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is at the Pentagon for us. Natasha, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Brianna, we are learning that those wounded U.S. service members are now in stable condition. And we are told that this drone, the suspected Iranian drone that targeted that coalition military base in northeastern Syria, it was a quote suicide drone. It was used kind of as a one and done type drone just to attack and then depart. And we are told that the U.S. did retaliate, of course. They did target facilities inside Syria that they believe that the Iranian proxy groups were using in order to store munitions as well as gather intelligence. And this is not the first time that the U.S. has targeted Iranian proxy groups in the region. It has been done many times before, including as recently as August of 2022, when President Biden ordered yet another strike on Iranian groups in Syria. But this is happening this is happening very often now, and that is what is really concerning to the United States, because the U.S. has about 900 U.S. troops in Syria who are part of the anti-ISIS coalition. And so the U.S. has been trying to deter Iran from carrying out these strikes. But at the same time, the U.S. does not want an escalation with Iran, and they certainly do not want a war. Here's what National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said this morning.
We don't seek a war with Iran. We're not looking for an economic conflict with that country or another war in the region. We do seek to protect our mission in Syria.
Now, General Kalila, who's the commander of U.S. Central Command, he did say that it is a huge concern for the U.S. because they assess that Iran currently has one of the most sophisticated, largest, and most capable unmanned aerial vehicle forces in the entire region, Brianna.
All right, Natasha, thank you so much for the latest on that story. Former President Trump is ratcheting up the rhetoric overnight, warning that there could be death and destruction if he is charged by the Manhattan DA's office in this hush money probe. The grand jury is going to be reconvening on Monday. And in another criminal case encircling the former president, Trump's defense attorney, Evan Portland, is testifying today to a grand jury in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents investigation. Portland will not be protected by attorney-client privilege after the Justice Department convinced a federal judge that Trump's interactions with Portland were part of a possible crime or fraud. With me now is CNN senior political correspondent and anchor of Inside Politics Sunday, Abby Phillip. Abby, how significant is Portland's testimony here today for this special counsel's probe?
Hey, Brianna, I think it's very significant. I start from the place of understanding that when we talk about former President Trump as a defendant, he is someone who is not like a lot of other modern day defendants. He doesn't email, he doesn't often have much of a paper trail. He doesn't use text messages in the same way historically as other people might today. And so when you're trying to establish what he was thinking, what he asked people to do, what he may have ordered them to do, it's really important to speak to the people who he would have given that information to. And I think in this case, his attorney would be at the center of this. And on top of that, you're talking about trying to, I think the government is trying to determine whether Trump played a role in trying to explore their knowledge of what was in Mar-a-Lago, what documents were there, how many were there, and whether they were trying to hide that from the government. And the fact that they were able to get a judge to approve a crime fraud exception, I think, says quite a lot about what they were able to show in court that would necessitate.
Abby Phillip, thank you. We have former U.S. Attorney Michael Moore, who is joining us now to discuss the legal implications of all of this. Michael, it's not really a choice here, right? Evan Portland, it's one or the other. If there was a lie, he either was willing or he was unwilling, and there are consequences for both, whichever way it is.
That's right. I'm glad to be with you. And this is an unusual circumstance when you have a lawyer who comes in to talk about what they discussed with their client. I do think it's a little different in this case, given that this is grand jury testimony, and this is done in a secretive, format. There's no public hearing on this, and so that also gives some shield and probably gave the judge some comfort in thinking about sort of violating or allowing the openness of what's otherwise a pretty sacrosanct relationship, I mean, between the lawyer and the client. But corporate's caught in a little bit of a box. In the letter, the certification about whether or not documents there is going to be key. And he said there was not. So if he signed the certification and didn't know the answer to that, he's got a problem. If he signed the certification knowing that was not the case, and the trumpet told him to do it, he's got a finger problem. And so either way, he's in an uncomfortable position in front of the grand jury.
So that's the case about classified documents. You also have this Manhattan VA case. It's looking at these hush money payments to illegal film star Stormy Daniels. You have the DOJ case about January 6th, the Fulton County, Georgia investigation of the aftermath of the 2020 election. How do you see these cases fitting together?
Well, I hate to see them move forward as the first case being the hush money case. It doesn't mean that what happened in that case that there was nothing wrong with it. It clearly appears to have been something wrong, but the issue for me is that that's a misdemeanor charge. That they're having to think at this point about how to charge that in a certain way and present certain evidence to actually make it a felony. And I hate to see what I think is probably the weaker of the cases move forward first, because that oftentimes has a tendency to create bad law. It can hurt good cases. I like the idea, and I appreciate the fact that Jack Smith, special counsel, is moving forward quickly. By all accounts, he's got both feet on the gas, and that's going to be an important thing as we go. I think those cases, because of the sort of nationwide jurisdiction that he has, and the ability to look at all that, those to me strike me as the stronger cases. Then, of course, you've got the Georgia case, and the district attorney is trying to make a decision about which immediate charges she'll proceed on, given the special recommendation. She's not bound by that. She'll have to remain. But all indications are that she'll move forward with some indictment. We just don't know against which defendants or what charges specific. She has a very clear case, I think, as it relates to the phone call for Rapids murder. That's another strong case. Again, we get to a situation where I just think from maybe a historical perspective, and also we think about moving forward, given the nature of this type of action, that there's some comfort in the idea of a nonpartisan special counsel looking at bringing charges if those charges are in fact going to be brought against a former president of the United States. Not because it's Trump, because I think about what happens 50 years from now. We're going to have local prosecutors indicting presidents when they leave office, or we're better off having a system that sort of centralizes that from an political.
If you look at this, I mean, you're prosecutors coordinating. What is really the bigger deal here? What should go first? How could you actually do that without then having seeing the allegations of politicizing this process being leveled against those prosecutors in the legal process?
Well, I think it would be a great idea if all three of these folks, three prosecutors, the DA Manhattan, the DA Atlanta, special counsel would go lock themselves away in a room somewhere and make a decision on how they want to move forward. They need to look at the case. They need to look at whether or not they think they can get a conviction, and more importantly, whether or not they can survive the motions that are going to lead up to the trial. And then can they sustain a conviction on appeal with the appellate courts in that particular jurisdiction? So that's going to be important as with that. We don't have to politicize it. Again, it's not a question of treating it differently because he was a former president. It's a question of recognizing the fact that he was a former president and what it means going forward. So I don't think that you have to necessarily come in and politicize it from the idea of, oh, we've got to change X, Y, and Z, but you have to recognize that this is, in fact, and there's just no way around it, a historic prosecution. And this case is going to be subject to scrutiny like they've never faced before. And so it's going to be important to take the strongest case that you have and take the most direct shot at a conviction if, in fact, they can get it. So those things are going to be important. But the prosecutor's job is to do justice. It's also to make sure that the public can have confidence in the outcome or confidence in their decision making. So all those things have to be playing right now, I'm sure, in all three prosecutors' minds as they think about these cases.
Certainly. Michael Moore, thank you so much. It's great to have you. And joining us now, we have Jake Tapper, CNN Chief Washington Correspondent and co-state anchor of the Lead, as well as State of the Union. So, Jake, as we see all of this sort of swirling around Trump, he's warning of death and destruction. In particular, he's arrested in the Manhattan case. He's also holding this rally in Waco on the 30th anniversary of Grand Davidian. What's he doing?
I think he's doing what he has done historically, which is fan the flames as much as he can, while also having just enough plausible deniability so that nobody can accuse him legally of inciting violence. I mean, yesterday he posted something on Truth Social in which he was belittling the idea of protests needing to be peaceful. This is just what he does. He goes up to a line and it's a line that doesn't exist for any other politician, but he doesn't cross it. And he also causes a lot of his Republican friends on Capitol Hill to suddenly not have seen any thing on Truth Social or not have their glasses on them at the time when reporters address them. He's putting them in a tough spot because obviously if a Democrat were to make such a vague threat, it would be deprived or derided by Republicans.
And not joining as well at this rally that he's holding. I mean, how many Republicans are not going to be there is pretty amazing. There are going to be some perhaps unusual optics that we may see here in New York. Trump's warning of death and destruction is coming as we're learning that the sequel to The Joker is going to be filming in the area around the Manhattan courthouse this weekend. So this is all happening, and we're expected that there's going to be these scenes that include protests and cars on fire at this very time. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know how comic book nerdy you want me to get right now, but I will. Well, I mean, you came to the right place. I mean, I will say that if you those, and if you know, you know, there's a lot in canon about the Joker, especially the film, 2019 film, and the degree to which it's an allegory for modern political movements that tap into rage and anger, particularly among white men. Not to mention, if I go into Frank Miller, the great comic book genius, and his Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child, there's a whole Trump character. So, I mean, there is life imitating art, imitating life going on here, but again, I don't want to nerd out too much on the comic book thing.
Yeah, I feel like I want you to write a column on that so you can really nerd out on it. You did something else that is so fascinating. You sat down with the star and the co-creator of the wildly popular hit that we are huge fans of, Ted Lasso. You sat down with Jason Sudeikis for an interview that's going to be airing tonight on CNN tonight at 9. So before his Ted Lasso fame, of course we know Jason Sudeikis of having spent 9 seasons on SNL, and you asked him about impersonating President Joe Biden on the show. So I want to play a little preview of that.
Oh, I'm live from New York. It's Saturday night.
In my view, he has done the best job that SNL has not even It's hard. It's hard. For me, it's hard. That's more of a good thing to say anything. Sketch comedy is hard. All right, well, yeah, I appreciate it.
Like, he's also a different hero.
Right, he's knowledge, whatever that skit.
Is it weird to you?
See, I never thought of making fun of him. I don't think I played anyone when I made fun.
With all due respect, this is much of a malarkey.
I don't think I can. Your channel. I don't think my dad was like fake teeth. They give me fake chocolate. I get these, little tiny teeth. But I'm always trying to improve of myself. Again, I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to do prank phone calls and get people in trouble. And he's great, and as advertised. You know what I mean? If you get to work somewhere like that a lot, it's a form of superpower to be able to impersonate or empathize, physically and vocally, into something, however you want to put the channel, something, if you will.
Channel, not making fun of, but we saw that photo, Jake, where he met with Biden, and it was actually to talk about a very meaningful topic.
Yeah, they're talking about mental health and the importance of mental health. They're talking about that's obviously an issue that's rising in attention nationally at post-pandemic, but also you have individuals, whether it's Congresswoman Nancy Mace or Senator Tim Smith, talking about challenges, talking about difficulties. Something important to this White House, and something important to Jason Sudeikis and the show, Ted Lasso, which in many ways is a workplace comedy, but at its heart there is this core about vulnerability and who we are and the fact that we are all more alike than we generally acknowledge on a day-to-day basis. So we talked a lot about the show. If you're a fan of the show, you'll see us talking about different characters, but we also just talked about Jason's career, his arc, SNL. It was a really fun sit down with him.
I cannot wait. I am so looking forward to this, Jake, and I just want to tell everyone all about it. Your sit-down interview with Jason Sudeikis is going to be airing tonight on CNN Prime Time. That will be at 9 p.m. tonight, and we'll be right back.
CNN Newsroom, brought to you by GetRefunds.com. See if your business qualifies for an ERC refund today.
The team is 101 years old. The COVID hit, we had some challenges. I heard about the payroll tax refund to allow us to keep the people that have been here taking care of us.
Learn more at GetRefunds.com.
Why is Aaron happy? Well, just days ago, his whole wheels gave out. But he knew Carvana had his back. That's because Carvana had tens of thousands of cars under $20,000. So, Aaron's folks could help him out with a sweet ride. No way. Yes way. With the most cars under $20,000 and our car renting machines, we'll drive you happy. At Carvana.
What if my type 2 diabetes takes over? What if all I do is numb? Or what if I can do diabetes differently? Now you can with once weekly Manjaro. Manjaro helps your body regulate blood sugar. And Manjaro can help decrease how much food you eat. 3 out of 4 people reached an A1C of less than 7%. Plus, people taking Manjaro lost up to 25 pounds. Manjaro is not for people with type 1 diabetes or children. Don't take Manjaro if you're allergic to it. You or your family have medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop Manjaro and call your doctor right away if you have an allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, vision changes, or diabetic retinopathy. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis and gallbladder problems. Taking Manjaro with sulfonylurea or insulin raises low blood sugar risk. Tell your doctor if you're nursing, pregnant, or plan to be. Side effects include nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, which can cause dehydration and renal and kidney problems. I can do diabetes differently with Manjaro. Ask your doctor about once weekly Manjaro. You love closing the deal, but hate managing your business from afar. You need to hire. Indeed you do. Indeed instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire. Prize Fighter meets Trailblazer. Classic meets modern. And Morgan Stanley, we may seem like a contradiction, and we are. At 87 years old, we still see the world with the wonder of new eyes, helping you discover untapped possibilities, and relentlessly working with you to make them real. To unlock new ideas, legacies, to research, innovate, collaborate, and build the way to transform a company, industry, economy, generation. Because grit and vision working in lockstep puts you on the path to your full potential. Old school grit, real world ideas, Morgan Stanley.
I got in at Short Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
In Short Max Protein, with 30 grams of protein and 1 gram of sugar and nutrients for a new health.
There's some more twists and turns in the banking sector today. The calm after the Fed's modest rate hike this week was short-lived because Germany's Deutsche Bank is now the latest domino that is teetering. There are fears of its collapse that are rippling throughout the banking system. American bank stocks are mixed on the news, and right on cue, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is holding a closed-door meeting with regulators about all of this turmoil that we are seeing here. Let's discuss this now with Moody's chief economist, Mark Zandi. Mark, thank you for being with us here. This isn't what we wanted to see, right? We have Deutsche Bank stocks down more than 8% when markets closed in Europe. Exactly what happened with Credit Suisse earlier this month. How fragile is the global financial system right now?
Well, there's a lot of banks out there now. Understandably, it's been a difficult 2 weeks in the global financial system, a number of failures, and of course what happened with Credit Suisse. And so I think this just reflects a general angst among investors, folks that own stocks and banks, and bondholders that invest in the bonds of these banks. And you can see it in the borrowing the banks are doing, like the Federal Reserve, the discount window borrowing, the borrowing against the new credit facility, the bank funding facility. You can see it in the borrowing from the Federal Home Loan Bank system. You can see it in the borrowing with central banks, with the Fed. So the system is obviously under a lot of stress, and I think investors are just really nervous about what's the next shoe to fall here.
So if we see these, big global banks at risk, smaller regional banks in the U.S., they still aren't in the clear. What isn't at risk, and how worried should people be?
I don't think you should be worried. I think the system is in good shape. If you look at the amount of capital the system has, it's the cash cushion banks have losses on their securities or on their loans. If you look at their liquidity, and of course you've got the government backstop, the Fed, the FDIC, the Treasury. Over in Europe, the Swiss central bank and other governments are standing firmly behind their institutions. So I don't think there's any concern about this, the banking system in general. But if you're a shareholder or a stockholder in these companies, or if you're a bondholder and you want money in these companies, I think there's some concern there about not only about the viability, but more so about the long-term growth prospects in the context of the things that are going on. So for the average American household, for the typical depositor, there's nothing to be worried about.
We had CNN Matt Egan speaking to one of the officials involved in the Fed's latest interest rate debate, and he explained why the Fed sees inflation as the clear priority over the banking situation. Here is that moment.
Inflation's high. Demand hadn't seemed to come down, and so the case for raising was pretty clear. The one thing that I hear loud and clear from everybody is that they hate inflation. They find inflation to be unfair.
Do you agree with the Fed's calculation here?
No, it's a judgment, obviously, and done with the counterfactuals. But my sense is the number one priority has to be the stability of the financial system. Not only the reality of it, but as I said, I think the system is on very solid ground, but the perception of it. And it just seems very incongruous to me that last week the Reserve was establishing facilities to help support the banking system, give them the cash they need to meet depositors' demands, and then that's designed to take pressure off. And then the next week, this last few days, a couple days ago, raise interest rates, which puts pressure on the banking system. But this doesn't feel like that's consistent. And it isn't. And so, I think it makes much more sense at this point to focus on the stability of the financial system, focus on restoring confidence, and once that's the case, and I think that should happen relatively quickly here in the next week, 2 or 3, then take a look around, see what kind of damage this is all doing to the economy. If it's not, then inflation is still an issue, then you can pivot back and start raising interest rates again. But I think at this point, it's really critical that policymakers put at the top of the list of concerns are what's going on in the financial system.
Some advice there, perhaps, to the reader. Mark Zandi, thank you for that. The residential neighborhood, a sunny afternoon, and bullets fly. Philadelphia police searching for the gunman in this brazen attack as 2 teen victims are fighting for their lives.
So my sister signed up for United Healthcare Medicare Advantage. Now she's got a whole team to help get the most out of her plan. With coverage that's better than ever for dental, vision, prescription drugs, and more.
Advantage me.
Can't wait till I turn 65.
AARP Medicare Advantage plans only from United Healthcare. Take advantage now at UHC.com/Medicare.
When I started my new kombucha business, I thought there would be a lot more kombucha and a lot less business. As a new small business owner, I've learned that trying to be the cool boss is a lot harder when you're actually the stressed boss.
I know everything about my new furniture business. Well, everything except the whole business part. Not anymore. With QuickBooks, you can confidently manage your business. New business, no problem. Yeah. Success starts with Intuit QuickBooks.
Back when I had a working circulatory system, you had to give your right arm to find great talent. But with Upwork, there's highly skilled talent from all over the globe, right at your fingertips. It's where businesses meet great remote talent, and remote talent meets great opportunity. This is how we work now.
It's hard to believe that Mint Mobile can be good at just $15 a month. So, as Mint's new owner, I brought in one of our first and oldest customers with Mint Navy. Welcome to Mint, Ryan. So you've had Mint for years. Any issues? No, the service has been great. And under my ownership, it's going to get even better. Oh, no idea. Still $15 a month, right? Yeah.
How about Taco Wednesday? Nobody's done that before.
I think he's posting about all that ancient Roman coinage. No, he's making real-time money moves with Merrill. So no matter what the market's doing, he's right. And that's how you pull up funds.
Your money never stops working for you with Merrill. A Bank of America company.
Subway needs to bring the game with the Subway Series, an all-star meal of delicious subs. Like number 8, the great garlic, rotisserie style chicken, bacon, and garlic aioli.
That tasted good. Great garlic, though. Just sweet.
Can't argue with that analysis. Try Subway's tasty menu upgrade yet.
When Asphodel told me that my dangerous was ready, I was so excited. I love the confidence. I love that I can blast this beautiful smile and make everyone smile with me. I would totally say Aspen changed my mind.
Aspen Dental makes new smiles affordable. Right now, get 20% off dentures. We do anything to make you smile. Schedule your consultation today.
I'm Eva Longoria. I'm exploring Mexico to see how the people have shaped a culinary tradition as diverse as its 32 states.
Salud!
Eva Longoria, Searching for Mexico, premiere Sunday at 10 on CNN.
I was reminded recently of why we do this when I saw a person brought to tears when they had their first conversation with their grandchild. I remember the way that people's faces light up when they can understand the conversations with loved ones. If you're experiencing any symptoms of hearing loss, come see us for a free exam and test to find out if we can improve your quality of life. Custom units starting at $750, now featuring the new wireless technologies from Volta. A1 Hearing Aid, the only locally owned and operated hearing health facility right here in Colorado.
With Dexcom G7, you can achieve diabetes results without finger sticks. See how exercise affects your glucose, making it easier to spend more time in range and lower your A1C. Manage your diabetes with confidence. If it's pain when you try to go on, sometimes feels like you push through a pile. Call it since the brand new self-esteem quality. Number 2 should be easy to keep. Just comfortable with you.
Ted Lasso's Jason's Vegas joins Jake Cat. Tonight at 9.
Brought to you by Meso.
About an hour from now, President Biden will address the Canadian Parliament before holding a news conference with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Biden's first presidential trip to Canada is a critical time for the North American partnership. It's gotten stronger in the face of challenges with China, Russia, trade, and immigration. Already, the trip has resulted in Canada making a significant concession on a foreign migration issue, agreeing to restrict certain migrants who are seeking asylum. CNN's Paul Newton is in Ottawa for us. So, Paul, what kind of message are we going to be hearing from the president next hour? Well, that's how in Parliament, as I know, because you've been witness to so many of these, and he's going to address Parliament in a historic way, right? This is going back to whether it's Kennedy or Reagan or Clinton or Obama. He will be addressing Parliament and again underscoring what everyone already knows. These are two of the closest relationships that you will find anywhere on the planet in terms of diplomatic relationships, shared values, all those things that bind these two countries together towards one of the really most undefended, unmilitarized borders in the world. Having said that, the president, underscore the fact that the geopolitical landscape has changed. And there is no escaping that in the last couple of years, things have changed significantly. In that context, and perhaps not in the speech to Parliament, but in the press conference, we will hear that the United States has asked Canada to step up, to spend more in areas, things like defense spending, and that Canada has agreed to. They still may disagree on some points of interest, but again, this is part of the United States saying, look, allies, you all need to step up. Things have changed significantly, and perhaps consequentially, this is one of the most important times, arguably, since 9/11 in terms of the United States getting allies to stand behind them, but also step up in terms of those defense commitments. Yeah, it really is. It's huge what we're seeing in that regard. So tell us about this asylum agreement, how this is illustrating the changing policy priorities for these two allies, especially in the wake of that Chinese spy balloon. Yeah, absolutely. And when we look at what they're doing on defense, this is continental defense, right? So you're dealing right up to, I think, and going down to Mexico. And in terms of humanitarian issues, one of them has to do with that humanitarian crisis on the southern border. Now, look, the numbers in terms of whatever's going on our northern border here, they pale in comparison. And yet the United States said that, look, if you want us to be able to have a more hardened border on that northern end, you've got to come to the table with something. Canada has now apparently agreed to take it. Migrants that would normally be sent back to the United States, they will now take them in, and that will change things along that northern border. I want to listen now to me speaking to Justin Trudeau yesterday about the deal that's now in the works. Do you expect that perhaps some migrants will be able to go to regular border process in Canada and be received that way? Because as you know, right now, they would be turned back to the United States.
There's a lot of work being done, and we hopefully be able to make an announcement to reassure Canadians and Americans that we continue to handle migration seriously.
And will that include taking migrants that sometimes even present themselves at the southern border or taking migrants directly from the United States?
Canada's always been taking more.
We'll find out exactly what Canada is going to do in the next 2 hours. As you said, they're going to have a press conference and we'll be looking for so much more detail on whether it's this immigration deal or on specific defense spending that Canada has promised. Yeah. All right, Paul and Whitney, thank you so much for that. In Philadelphia, a brazen afternoon attack on teenagers caught on camera. Masked gunmen spraying dozens of bullets at 3 teenagers, a 16-year-old and 2 13-year-olds. Today, 2 of those victims are in critical condition, and police are searching for the shooters here. Let's talk about this with CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe, who's a former deputy director of the FBI. So, Andy, we're looking at this. We see the faces of the gunmen are covered. But the video is very clear here. How optimistic are you that the shooters may actually be identified?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. With a video like this is obviously a great thing to work with, if it's being part of an investigation. There's also, from the reporting, we know that they're aware of the description of the vehicle. Likely what detectives in Philadelphia will do is work with both the video and the vehicle description and go out to their broad swath of informants in the community, speaking to other individuals that have been arrested recently or people who they know have been involved in gang activity. And it's only a matter of time before that sort of intelligence operation gives you some leads in terms of identifying and locating these individuals.
You say this is gang related, that's what they're investigating it. What are the trends that we're seeing right now when it comes to violent crime related things?
Violent crime gang activity is always the source of a large percentage of the violent crime in a urban area, particularly violent crimes fueled by guns. So I was looking just before we came on. To date in Philadelphia, they have had 98 homicides in 2023, which is actually a 14% reduction since 2022. But the statistic that really jumps out at me now is they've had about 350 shootings in Philadelphia just in this year, 74 of which have been fatal. If you look at where those shootings are taking place, this block, this small neighborhood in Western Philadelphia, does not appear to be at the heart of most of the shooting activity. But obviously, they have a really serious situation in greater Philadelphia with activity that is leading to shootings and fatal shootings. And so, what needs to be done in these cities across the country? How do you spend this? Well, the strategies are typically revolve around two different types. So, in the short term, the way to reduce the sort of criminal activity on the streets is to flood the zone with police presence. So that means drawing resources away from other areas, but those you look at that heat map, try to figure out where these shootings are taking place, and you just pump the number of police on the street. Longer term, the strategy is doing better enforcement in terms on the prosecution side, putting people away for gun offenses. If perpetrators know that they are facing significant sentence if they commit a crime with a gun, they are less likely to carry guns. If they're less likely to carry them, they're less likely to get into these spontaneous shootings or planned shootings for that matter. So short term, more cops on the street. Longer term, you got to do a better job about prosecuting people for being involved in gun felonies. All right, Andrew McCabe, thank you so much for that. Just terrific what we're seeing on this on that video, obviously. So any moment now, Gwyneth Paltrow could be taking a stand in a trial over a speed collision. We'll have details on this next.
Liberty Mutual and save $652. They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. The money we save, they don't try like the unicycles. Saving us time. Only
Hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, oh, hey, no, no,
With RefundsPro.com's no refund, no fee promise, if you don't receive a refund, you pay nothing. I'm Fernando. Live outside of Boston. I've been with Consumer Cellular for 5 years. Consumer Cellular gives you all the same features that these big companies give you. What you get for the cost is remarkable. Why would you pay more money? Why would you pay more? Well, you can get unlimited talk and text with the flexible data plan starting at just $20 a month. I think they should raise their prices. Sorry, Fernando. Our prices are staying low. So switch today and save. Call or go online. Think about the best night's sleep you've ever had. At Cerebral, we're dedicated to helping you sleep like that every night, so you get the deep, comfortable, undisturbed rest you deserve. For a limited time, save $300 on select Cerebral mattresses. CNN Prime Time. Ted Lasso's Jesse Davis joins Jay Tapper in the Woodland Show back for a new season as he talks one-on-one
law was closed off 350,000 clients. With over $1 billion in the last 5 years alone. We're making more money with more people. Period. So that.
More Furniture is making it easy to get all of our newest spring arrivals into your home for summer entertainment during our exclusive signature-only event. Get 72 months interest-free financing with no money down and only your signature. Spring arrivals are in stock and ready for delivery, just in time for the refresh year. So why not have the looks you love with only your signature? It takes 72 months to pay. Visit yourfurniture.com to fill your shopping cart or chat online with a design specialist today.
We are not correct. You want to put in your fight with every dollar you deserve. In many cases, your little become a 10, 15, 20 times more than the insurance company's original law. Get the money you deserve. Call Winter Road today.
And this is CNN.
So what do you think of when I say Mexico? I'm Eva Longoria. I'm exploring Mexico to see how the people and all of us know their lands. Wow, look at that. And their paths shaped a culinary tradition as diverse as 32 states.
Eva Longoria, searching for Mexico, premiere Sunday at 10 on CNN.
We've heard all the pundits in every hot take and opinion. We've read all the headlines, but what's it like to hear from the people actually living out those stories? I'm Audie Cornish, I'm an audio journalist, and my new CNN podcast breaks down trending stories and digs into the debates rocking our culture with the people living the headlines. I've got a lot of questions.
The End is a Worldly podcast. The Assignment with Audie Cornish. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
So what do you think of when I say Mexico? I'm Eva Longoria. I'm exploring Mexico to see how the people and all of us know their lands. Wow, look at that. And their paths shaped a culinary tradition as diverse as 32 states.
Eva Longoria, searching for Mexico, premiere Sunday at 10 on CNN.
Good morning, everyone. We do begin with breaking news this morning. I wanted to just say I wanted to thank the team on the ground pressing for answers. It's really important. During this hour too long, we've heard different sides of the aisle.
Well, I think you're great. This is the climate scientists have been organizing.
These volunteers are being safe. We couldn't have just that at home.
I think this sounds like good.
I'm going to see Lori's policy.
We have some breaking news just into CNN. A federal judge has ordered former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and a number of other former top aides to testify in the special counsel's January 6th investigation. The judge rejected Trump's claims of executive privilege. Let's get right to CNN's Evan Perez. Evan, tell us what this means, because this may open the door to very much more information in this case.
It really does, Brianna. The Justice Department has been winning these cases where they're asking the judge to compel some of these former Trump aides to answer questions as part of this investigation into the attempt by the former president to overturn the 2020 election result. And they keep winning these because the judges are finding that because of the importance of this investigation, the former president's claim that this is protected by executive privilege just does not stand. In this case, we're talking about Mark Meadows, who is, of course, former chief of staff. He's a very, very important witness. He was there through all of this, and in some cases, to try to help support the former president's false claims of vote fraud. You see there a list of some of the other aides, John Radcliffe, Robert O'Brien, Stephen Miller, Dan Scavino. All of these folks have, in some cases, gone in and refused to answer certain questions because the former president was making this claim of executive privilege. The judge, in this case, Darrell Howell, who was the former chief judge in the Washington, D.C. federal court, she has ruled that they must comply with the Justice Department's request to answer these questions. Now, what happens next is we expect that the Trump team is going to appeal
They've been appealing all of these, and they keep losing. So it doesn't, of course, prevent them from trying. And so we expect that they're going to appeal Meadow hearing as well as some of the others. And then we'll see when the Justice Department can get those before the appeals court and perhaps even to the Supreme Court. You know?
Evan, what is that going to mean when it comes to the former Vice President Mike Pence?
Well, that's a separate case, and obviously, his case is a lot more complicated because the president is claiming not only executive privilege, but Mike Pence is also claiming that he is protected under the Constitution's speech or debate clause, and so he is saying that when he was acting in those days around January 6th, he was acting as a member of the Senate because of his role there as the president of the Senate. The Justice Department is arguing that Mike Pence is his role there was ceremonial, and so they're pushing back on that. We anticipate that ruling is sometime in the offing soon, Brianna, but these are important witnesses that the Justice Department believes are key to this investigation, trying to get these people to provide evidence about what the former president's state of mind was, what he knew, what he was being told as he was pushing for these states to overturn their election results and keep him in power, even though he had lost.
What is the next step here? Because when you look at this, you have a number of aides and officials from the Trump administration, a number of them, varying degrees, are not going to want to be sharing information. They're going to do everything they can to not do that. So what recourse do you have?
Right, well, that's the thing. I mean, I think Mark Meadows is certainly more loyal of the former president's age. He's tried his best to try to keep the counsel that he gave the former president. He's also, I think, because of his very overt role, perhaps in a position where he also may have his own exposure here as part of the Justice Department investigation. So you're right that some of these witnesses, for instance, have already gone in and didn't know that they were supposed to claim executive privilege. So the former president made this claim in some cases after some of these people already went in to answer some questions. So the issue here, though, what you're getting picture of is the Justice Department, the special counsel in this case, Jack Smith, is really got his foot on the accelerator. He is trying to get these witnesses in. They're trying to move as quickly as they can. Because I think you and I both know that there's a political calendar that's in the works here. You have the former president already. He's declared that he's a candidate. Other candidates coming in. So the political season is upon us. And if the Justice Department wants to bring a case, they need to try to start moving that very, very soon. Yeah.
Without the cooperation, right? Without the testimony of some of those folks, some of the faces that we've seen, they're all blind spots in this investigation. So what kinds of questions will some of those be able to answer? What kind of information will they be able to reveal that previously the special counsel didn't have access to?
One of the things that I think a lot of us who've been watching this investigation very closely believe is happening here is that some of these witnesses is for the special counsel to establish what the former president knew, what his close people who telling him that there was absolutely which is something that Trump was being told by what I think some of the witnesses have called team people like Rudy Giuliani and some of the people who were trying to tell him that, oh, maybe there was some kind of interference, right, in the voting machine. The importance of these witnesses is for the special counsel, if they decide to bring a case, is to be able to establish that Trump, even if he can claim right now that he believed that vote fraud was real, he was getting from his most closely appointed aides, people who would have known, right, if there was any sign, any evidence of foreign interference in the voting machine, vote count. And he was being told by Robert O'Brien, by some
yet he was persistent in trying to pressure him to withdraw. Way for him to remain in power. That's part of what the importance of these. What happens, Evan, if some of these folks have exposure? They are asked questions. I mean, are they useful? Do they use their do they pay for it? What do they do? Yes, some of them do. In the case of Mark Meadows, who we know from the grand jury report in Georgia, we know that he pleaded the fifth in the special grand jury, and that tells you a lot, right? Because Mark Meadows was key. He was helping to start himself to try to pressure people to find what the former president said in that now infamous recorded call to Brad Raffensperger, where he said he wanted to find 11,780 votes, right? So he won the state of Georgia, which he did not. And so there are witnesses who do have their own legal exposure, and if you're the prosecutors, you have the right in right then and there to offer them at least limited immunity to try to get that testimony. It's not clear whether that is exactly what's going to happen. All this stuff is, of course, happening in a closed court where we don't have the benefit of being able to see what is happening. But that is certainly on the table. We see it happen with some of the other witnesses who have gone in and have declined to answer questions where the Justice Department asked them or gave them immunity so that they could answer questions. All right, Evan, thank you so much for that. This is a big development here. Federal judge ordering former top chief of staff Mark Meadows and several other former top aides to testify in the special counsel's January 6th investigation. You see their faces here. They're familiar faces in many cases. We are just a moment with more information.
I can't believe this is how the teens talk to me. This is talking.
It's not in the paper yet. There's something going on. These are $10 for two. They're $20 for four of them. You don't have to have them now. You got the potato soup. Is that what you're wanting? Three with chicken. That's the third time. I got her some white bones. Take it off. What? See what they cost? You want them now? Good night. Butter. Quick potato soup now. Take this off. Yes, fine. I don't know what to do. Does he need something now? What's in it? Is it trusted? You can we'll try to get it in the Sunday paper. If you can sign it, or Danielle said Susie can sign it. But he said he put the article in, so what else is he wanting? Yes. I don't see what's down. I know what it is.
Learn more at stearnsandfoster.com. Couldn't you see that? Now I have this. Inspires a sleep apnea treatment that works
It's a
inside
coat from
this
the
remote.
There's two minutes, yes. You need this one to go in the back bedroom, kitchen. You gotta go through all of that. I said that too, I can't do all of it. Well,
All across the country, people are working hard to build a better future. So we are helping them achieve financial freedom. We're providing greater access to investing with low-cost options to help maximize savings. From the plains to the coast, we help Americans invest in their future and help Americans thrive. Investing in the future of Americans. What does it
it's just a little bit more, but you just can't keep up. So you want it in the blender? Are you on?
New projects means new project managers. We hire and include Indeed we do. When you sponsor a job, you'll be able to get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes can deal at your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/hire and get started today. Franklin Center presents a monthly prize for American celebrating every Sunday with special guests, recently paid exclusively on CNN. Wells Fargo, presenting sponsor of the Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize. You like this grant? Yeah, this is called color. I love color. Maybe it's a wrong scale. It's way too big. Listen out. I'm really enjoying Cerebral. Damn. Well, the Naked Cerebral Project. All new on HGTV. Watch the Naked Cerebral Project on HGTV with TBS TV. Because we brought all your favorites together. Streaming apps, TV, on demand. No changing windows, no juggling logos. It's TV Plus. It's TV. It's sweet. Because you can afford 10 shows each week on 5 devices. All at once, all at home. No fighting, no consequences. It's TV Plus, multi-package. Don't have TBS TV Plus. Join trials and switch. Upgrade today. Viva Longoria, searching for Mexico. Premiere Sunday at 10 on CNN. Closed captioning brought to you by InventHelp. Call 1-800-710-4020. The other addiction, if you have the dough to do next, call InventHelp today. They can help you get started with your idea. Call now. 800-710-0020.
Back to breaking news now. A federal judge has ordered former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and these other former top Asian officials to testify in the special counsel's January 6th investigation. The judge rejected Trump's claims of executive privilege. I want to bring in former U.S. Attorney Michael Moore. This is a big, big step here, right? Because we are seeing the judge just poke holes in all of these claims of privilege, and this may crack things wide open for the special counsel. How big of a deal is this thing?
Well, it's a huge deal, and I think that you're starting to see some of the courts tell the Trump team they got enough of nonsense for the lawyer in the doctor's case, and now maybe the staff at the court trying to go get the executive privilege of Trump's claim. But remember that executive privilege is not a shield to hide criminal conduct behind. So you can't do something illegal and then you come around and claim executive privilege. It means to protect the delivery process. So, I think that this is the beginning sort of the cracking of the dam, for these false claims that have been out there. And you're going to now have plenty of information and folks who have otherwise been elected to testify.
What is the timeline here? Because a number of these folks here, they're not, they're not just looking for this public news, right? They didn't want to share information with the special counsel. They're going to do everything they can to not do this, so this will continue with the appeal process. What's the timeline? What are the next steps?
Well, my guess is that the appellate court will take it up fairly quickly. There's no question there'll be an appeal of this. Trump state will take it up. They'll push the executive privilege argument as far as they can. Is it something that can be heard within a month? Maybe so. But I think that there's a road sense that there needs to be some resolution, some finality, that this investigation needs to be brought to some conclusion, whatever it may be. You'll have individuals who may be recalcitrant witnesses. You'll have Trump's people over here who are saying, well, we're pushing the executive privilege and it should go on that. And I think you'll see that the court's handled it in fairly short order compared to a typical appeal in a regular case. Again, this is just a case, but at the same time, it's historical on its face. And for those people who are worried about what might happen, they should read the Nixon case. The Supreme Court put a pretty short order of this back in the Watergate days. So you just can't hide this kind of conduct behind executive privilege. It's not your sheet.
And now we will see a lot of questions around how this changes the former president's exposure. Michael Moore, thank you so much for your expertise in this. We appreciate it. And that does it for me. Don't go anywhere, though. We have much more on our breaking news right now.
Hello, and welcome to the CNN Newsroom. I'm Moore Sanchez. Hi everyone, Boris, great to be with you. I'm Jessica Dean. And we begin with breaking details, another major legal blow to former President Donald Trump. On the day his attorney had to testify before a federal grand jury in one case, we're learning in a separate case his former top administration aides have now been ordered to testify. And that includes his past White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows.
Now, this specific investigation is the federal criminal probe into Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election laws. CNN senior crime and justice reporter Caitlin Polentz is with us live, standing outside the Department of Justice on a rainy day. Caitlin, tell us so much about this development, the claim of executive privilege by the former president thrown out by this judge.
Right, so this is another attempt where Donald Trump is coming into court secretly behind closed doors and trying to say that people around him should not be answering questions about his direct communications with him. In this situation, it would be a claim of presidential confidentiality or executive privilege. And we do know there are several different people who were top aides around him, even a cabinet member at the time around January 6th, where he was trying to block them answering questions. And the federal judge, Beryl Howell, who was the chief judge of this court until last week, one of her last rulings, was striking this down, just deciding that no, he wasn't going to be able to make these sorts of claims and block people from answering additional questions about those direct type of conversations. People like Mark Meadows, his chief of staff in the White House, John Ratcliffe, the director of national intelligence, the national security advisor at the time, Robert O'Brien, Ken Cuccinelli, a cabinet member, a homeland security official, the secretary, and the two top aides, Stephen Miller and Dan Savino. All of those people are affected by this. Now, Trump did give a response saying that the prosecutors are continuously stepping far outside the standard norms in attempting to destroy long-standing, long-held, constitutionally based standards here, including around executive privilege. But really, in criminal investigations, it is very often that prosecutors are able to use the grand jury to get answers, even when people try to make claims around the presidency like this. So this isn't the first time it's happened in this investigation related to January 6th, but this would be a pretty big decision from Judge Howell going forward for Special Counsel Jack Smith.
Yeah, sure thing, Caitlin. And I also want to talk about a separate case against former President Donald Trump in which his attorney, Evan Corcoran, was in court today, being forced to testify there. Walk us through that.
Right, another proceeding behind closed doors. This was the grand jury investigating the handling of classified documents in Mar-a-Lago after Trump left the presidency and possible obstruction of justice. Evan Corcoran, his defense attorney, was forced as well by Judge Howell to come back into court and answer additional questions that he did not want to answer about what happened after he and his team received a subpoena from the Justice Department last year saying, hand all of the classified documents that might be in Mar-a-Lago. And then the FBI, of course, went into Mar-a-Lago and found many, many documents. And so there wasn't full compliance with that subpoena right away. And so that is what we know prosecutors wanted to ask Evan Corcoran about today. We don't know exactly what happened within that grand jury, but now we're going to be watching what the investigation does from here. Do they call in more witnesses, or did they get enough from him where they believe they may want to look to charge a case?
All right, Caitlin, stay with us, and maybe we'll be getting more details on reporting as the hours go by. Caitlin Polentz, thanks so much. And joining us now is CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams, who helped lead the Justice Department as Deputy Assistant Attorney General. Elliot, it's great to see you. There are so many cases right now, and it's hard for all of us to keep straight. I can't imagine if you're watching, it's hard for you to keep straight. But Elliot, let's start first with the first one we were talking about, this breaking news that we just got. That in this January 6th investigation, that all of these top aides, including former President Trump's Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, will be compelled to testify. What do you make of that development?
Well, it's a significant development, Jessica. So the way executive privilege operates, of course, is that the senior aides of the president and the president are entitled to protection around conversations they have with the president when they're doing their jobs. Now, the problem, and I think what a federal judge has recognized, or at least identified here, is that some of the communications around January 6th were beyond the scope of just the work of the White House. You're talking about the former president as a candidate, but also perhaps the target or subject of criminal investigations here. That's why the court was able to find, it seems like we didn't see the opinion, it's under seal, but that's what happens in executive privilege.
Well, Elliot, this claim from the former president's attorneys of executive privilege over communications in an administration that is no longer in office, it's owed for like 30 attempts by Trump's lawyers to make this thing stick? Is it that we're not going to see these executive privilege claims anymore?
No, you very well still laying out. There's a very strong argument that is made forward that executive privilege rests with the presidency, not an individual president, and that the proper party to exert executive privilege would be President Biden or the subsequent president, whoever that could be, whether it's President Biden or the president in the future. But beyond that point, also the nature of the communications matter. For instance, if a president is campaigning for office and speaking with some of the people around him or her about the candidacy or campaign issues, whatever that may be, those really aren't the work of the White House. And it's an area that just simply would not be protected under executive privilege. And again, if people are talking about possible additional crimes, those simply aren't going to be recommendations that I think are getting recognized now.
Okay, now let's move on to the second case. It's also a federal case. This is the one where the corporate forms that Trump's attorney has been compelled to testify, which is a very rare thing for an attorney to have to testify potentially. Prosecutors only until 4 years, and they have no case whatsoever. Why do you think that's so key, and how would you?
Privilege Day.
Happy Privilege Day, everyone.
Happy Privilege Day. The law protects conversations with their clients with the that those conversations can be used to commit or shield a crime. And it's very, very rare to get highly criminalized, but this almost never happens anywhere across the United States. Now, the statement of the former president's attorneys the president's attorneys that they only attack attorneys in court, that's simply not the case. What you have here was a remarkable scenario in which a federal court and a federal appeals court both found that there was at least some evidence that statements between the former president and his attorney were either themselves evidence of a crime or used to shield the possible commission of crime. It doesn't have to be a crime committed by the president himself, merely that there was some crime committed at the same related to it. So it's really a big deal, and I think it's a little bit dismissive of the legal process and a truly remarkable scenario to say that, well, all we do is attack the attorneys as they come in.
It may also be premature, given that we don't know the extent of Corcoran's testimony yet. We'll see where it heads. Elliot Williams, thanks so much for the expertise. We want to pivot to Merry Privilege Day, like you said. We want to pivot to major international news now, specifically zeroing in on the Middle East and Syria, because the U.S. military is striking back after a deadly drone attack killed an American contractor and wounded 5 service members. The Pentagon says that an Iranian-made drone struck a base in northeast Syria. An official told CNN that it was a one-way drone that intentionally crashed into its target.
President Biden responded with airstrikes against groups affiliated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard in Syria. What you're looking at is social media video that appears to show the flaming aftermath of the U.S. strikes. I think we're going to go to the Pentagon right now, where we're expecting to get a briefing on this. Let's see if we can listen in on that.
Syria at approximately 1:38 p.m. local time. Secretary Austin, at the direction of President Biden, authorized U.S. Central Command forces to conduct precision strikes into eastern Syria against facilities used by groups affiliated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The airstrikes were conducted in response to yesterday's attack, as well as a series of recent attacks against coalition forces in Syria by groups affiliated with the IRGC. In terms of airstrike details, 2 U.S. Air Force F-15E fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Air Force's Central and based in the CENTCOM area of responsibility, struck 2 IRGC affiliated facilities at approximately 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time or 2:40 a.m. local. The facilities were located near Daruz River in eastern Syria, and we're continuing to assess the outcome of the strikes. Initial indications are that the facilities were destroyed. In regards to any militant casualties, we're still assessing. These precision strikes were intended to protect and defend U.S. personnel, and the U.S. took proportionate and deliberate action intended to limit the risk of escalation and minimize casualties. As Secretary Austin said in his statement, no group will strike our troops with impunity. Again, Secretary Austin, along with the Department of Defense, offer our thoughts and prayers to the family and colleagues of the American contractor who was killed and with those who were wounded in the attack. Our forces deployed in Syria continue to conduct an important mission in support of the international coalition to ensure the enduring defeat of ISIS. Separately, Secretary Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, testified yesterday before the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense to discuss the President's fiscal year 2024 budget. Next week, both leaders are scheduled to testify before the Senate Armed Services Committee and the House Armed Services Committee on DoD's budget posture and our future year's defense program. Again, the Secretary and the Chairman look forward to working with Congress to provide our service members serving around the world with the resources that they need to accomplish DoD's mission and strengthen America's national security for the 21st century and beyond. Finally, on Wednesday, Secretary Austin unveiled a comprehensive plan aimed at improving the lives of our dedicated military force and their families. The new plan consists of 6 additional actions that address essential needs in education, child care, parental leave, and career advancement. The Department of Defense is committed to working with Congress and other stakeholders to ensure the successful implementation of these measures. The plan directs the implementation of the following: universal pre-kindergarten at DoD education activity schools, dependent care flexible spending accounts for service members, promoting awareness of new military parental leave benefits, improvements to the exceptional family member program, expanded spouse eligibility for career advancement account financial assistance, and continuing efforts for portability for professional licensees for military families. Secretary Austin and the Department of Defense are dedicated to enhancing the quality of life for our service members and their families through these new measures. The DoD will collaborate with Congress and state partners to ensure the successful implementation and ongoing support of these initiatives. The memorandum and additional information can be found on the DoD website. And with that, I will take your questions. We'll start with AP, Lita Bellwood.
Thanks, Pat. A couple things. Just one quick clarification. In the counter strikes, the U.S. Hit 3 or 2. Was it 3 strikes or 2 strikes?
Two different facilities, so 2 strikes.
2 strikes. Okay. And then secondly, can you talk a little bit about the protection at the base where the Iranian drone hit? My understanding is that there was some even lacking protections there. Can you say whether or not any of the radars or airsoft, anything that are there, either failed or not operating? Is there adequate protection there now? How did the drone pierce the security of that base? And then
Sure. So first of all, broadly speaking, for operational security, since I'm not going to get into the specifics in terms of the types of force protection capabilities we have in our facilities, other than to say we take force protection very, very seriously. I will say, as it pertains to radar, my understanding is that there was a complete sight picture in terms of radar. All that said, as is the case in any type of attack, U.S. Central Command will conduct a review to assess what happened and take a look at what, if any, other type of mitigating actions need to be taken. That would obviously be and then
to follow up on the actual situation now. Obviously, U.S. will strike again, again in response to those strikes. Are things escalating there? Can we expect more turning into a escalating situation in Syria for the troops?
Sure. And as you highlight, this morning at approximately 8:05 a.m. local time, which would have been 1:05 a.m. Eastern time, we had 10 rockets that targeted coalition forces at Green Village in northeast Syria. The attack resulted in no injuries to U.S. or coalition personnel and no damage to equipment or facilities. In terms of escalation, look, again, our focus in Syria is on the defeat ISIS mission. That will remain our focus. We do not see conflict with Iran. We don't see escalation with Iran. The strikes that we took last night were intended to send a very clear message that we will take the protection of our personnel seriously and that we will respond quickly and decisively if they're threatened. You have a
Questions. So according to the DoD, the intelligence assessment is this: UAV could be Iranian origin. The groups who were targeted by the U.S. are affiliated with Iranian revolutionary guard. One Iranian citizen was killed, 6 more were injured. Lethal and departed the executive of France. Both Iran responsible for the death of the president.
But we know that these groups are sponsored by Iran, so Iran certainly plays a role in terms of ensuring that this type of activity doesn't happen. Look, Iran certainly, again, backs these groups, and by default, therefore, has a responsibility to ensure that they're not contributing to insecurity and instability, but clearly they continue to do that. Thank you. Now, let me go.
So this is the general according to the DoD statement, the attack happened so that was real hard. When people are hurt,
Yeah, I'd have to refer you to General Perot. Thank you.
The drone was this Iranian drone, and how fast was it flying when it came towards the base? And did it, in the end, actually crash into the base, or did it fire its missiles at the base?
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. So we're still assessing some of those pieces. I don't have that information to provide, other than we are very confident that based on the forensics, based on the evidence analysis that we've done, that it was of Iranian.
To the facility or fire a weapon?
It did not fire a weapon, to my knowledge.
Say the radar was working, and if you were tracking it and the drones don't fly that quickly, how is it that it was able to crash into the base? And you say that you protected.
Look, again, this is a dangerous part of the world. The work that we do is inherently dangerous. That's why you have the military in these types of places conducting these type of operations. You've seen rocket attacks, mortar attacks in the past from these kinds of groups. Again, CENTCOM will do an assessment in terms of the attack. But the fact is that these IRGC-backed groups conducted this attack and unfortunately
Wasn't there contingency to shoot down the drone if it was coming into the base?
again, look, we take a variety of measures to safeguard our people, but again, it's an inherently dangerous place, and we'll look into the details of that. Okay.
Thank you, Senator. I have 2 questions. North Korea announced that it had conducted a nuclear underwater explosion test, and Kim Jong-un said that he would respond aggressively to U.S. and South Korea. How would the U.S. react to this?
Yeah, so I'm aware that North Korea issued a press release about this proposed capability. I've seen the press reports.
And you're watching now this update from the Pentagon on this drone strike by America. Back with us now, CNN's Natasha Bertrand from the Pentagon. Natasha, what's the latest in the Yeah, so a couple of new details that we got from the Pentagon press secretary there, specifically that the fighters actually carried out this airstrike on these Iran-backed facilities in Syria, where 2 U.S. Air Force F-15E fighter aircraft, and they actually struck 2 facilities, and we were told earlier today that those facilities were where Iranian proxy groups
were housing some munitions and also using as a base to gather intelligence. Now, we are also told by Ryder there that the Pentagon is still assessing the number of military casualties that actually resulted from the airstrike. It's unclear how many people actually died there. However, UK-based human rights monitor group says that there were at least 8 killed as a result of that U.S. airstrike. But look, there were a lot of questions here about why that couldn't have been that U.S. Iranian drone strike could not have been prevented, right? Because the point was made that these drones don't move very quickly, and that perhaps the base could have taken some measures to try to take it down before it crashed into that facility that was housing U.S. personnel. The question and the answer that we got from the Pentagon press secretary there was that they are essentially assessing what happened here. It is his understanding that the radar was all operating pretty correctly. And so the question now is, what can we do better to mitigate that potential risk in the future? He did say that U.S. Central Command is carrying out an assessment right now about how they can better protect U.S. troops and personnel stationed there.
Only the latest in a round of attacks from these Iranian-backed groups, some 80 drone or rocket attacks on U.S. troops in that region since the beginning of 2021. Natasha Bertrand from the Pentagon, thank you so much. Let's some perspective on that. It was a Wilson Center Institute. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. And as we know, it's been 78 drone or rocket attacks on U.S. troops in that area since 2021. Obviously, their Brigadier General Pat Ryder asked about the security of these facilities. Look, the focus of the United States from a security perspective obviously is on Eastern Europe, it's on the Pacific, but is enough being done to protect and fortify our assets in Syria in this fight, continuing fight against ISIS?
I believe that the forces on the ground, force protection in these type of environments, I've seen it, is paramount. And but the nature of war, unpredictability of conflict, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect science, and sometimes missiles or drones will get through. I think that what we would know is that this is in when you look at the whole picture, fairly rare, but it did happen. 78 attacks apparently over the last few years between Syria and Iraq, yes, but I gotta believe those ground commanders whose responsibility is a very number one is force protection for offensive operations.
And General, we know that Iran often uses these proxy groups to carry out these attacks, which is what apparently reportedly happened here. Help us understand why they do that. Does that allow them to keep their hands clean, as it were? We know that we're trying to press the general there about if Iran was responsible for this American death, and if he didn't quite, we just stopped short of saying that they were. What do you make of all of that?
Well, proxy forces, when we hear that, we think of, first of all, there is the IRGC, and they kind of are the, if you will, managing or quarterbacking. However, you've got Shia militias in there, you've got locals, and you have also, in fact, Deir ez-Zor, where we saw the attack yesterday, was rare sight of a very, very, very tough U.S. and allied engagement with Russian proxies. There are over estimated 200, including the 5 members in 2018. So there's a swirl of different activities. Now, the key point with the Iranian proxies is where they really have a swath that goes through Syria's sort of Wild West South, is also risks, and it makes the Russians crazy, getting the Israelis more involved. And the Israelis have done a number of these type of strikes that we are doing now in against the Syrians and the Iranians as well. It's a complete mix of groups, proxies, countries. Up in the Northeast, you've got the United States, you've got Russians, you've got Turks, you have the Syrians, and you have the Kurds, and all of that is working And in there, you have these sort of, difficult to identify allegiances of which that shift from time to time.
Right. Yeah, a lot at play there. Retired Brigadier General Peter Black, thank you so much for your analysis there. We appreciate it.
So we are just moments away from President Biden addressing the Canadian Parliament as part of his 24-hour world tour of the country. We're going to bring that to you live as soon as he takes the podium. Stay with CNN Newsroom. We're back in moments.
CNN Newsroom is brought to you by Farxiga. Visit us at farxiga.com for more.
When you have chronic kidney disease, there are places you'd like to be. Like here, and here, and here. Not so much here. If you've been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease, Farxiga reduces the risk of kidney failure, which can lead to dialysis.
Farxiga can cause serious side effects, including dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections in women and men, and low blood sugar. Ketoacidosis is a serious side effect that may lead to death. A rare, life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Farxiga and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this bacterial infection, an allergic reaction, or ketoacidosis. And don't take it if you are on dialysis.
Put yourself in the driver's seat. Make an appointment to ask your doctor for Farxiga for chronic kidney disease. If you can't afford your medication, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
Seats, back up.
What play is that?
You play here, no back. Hey, Rick.
Darlings, if you've been paying attention, it's easy to see prices are going up on just about everything. That's why you need to do your wallet a favor and call CarShield while you can still get last year's pricing. That's right, one call to CarShield now locks you into 2022 prices, so you can have peace of mind knowing that you're not only protected from mechanical breakdowns, but also from those rising rates. If you're driving an out-of-warranty vehicle, CarShield offers plans that cover up to $6,000 in your car, truck, or SUV. How would you pay for expensive repairs? Call CarShield now before it wears down.
Being an essential worker and a mom of three, finances can be very tight at times. If it wasn't for CarShield, I wouldn't have my car.
With CarShield, I don't worry about the check engine light anymore. CarShield saved me $2,200. CarShield gets rid of every expensive repairs so I don't have to.
It's so simple. A plan through CarShield means you never pay until that needs repairs. Their administrators got your back. But wait, darling, there's more, lots more, especially if you got extras like me. See, I love that my plan includes 24/7 and bring options too. Darlings, expensive car breakdowns will happen. The difference is calling CarShield before they do. Listen to your auntie Pepper and call CarShield now to protect yourself from rising rates and costly repairs. Okay. Get yourself a free quote.
It's not a matter of if your car will break down, but when. And you need to call CarShield now while you can still lock in your 2022 pricing. Your price lock guarantee means your monthly price never goes up for as long as you cover your car. Get help paying for expensive repair bills by calling CarShield now. Call 800-498-6955. 800-498-6955. 800-498-6955.
Okay, everyone, our mission is complete balanced nutrition. Together we support immune function, supply fuel for immune cells, and sustain tissue health.
Ensure with 25 vitamins and minerals, and ensure complete with 30 grams of protein.
Closed captioning brought to you by mesobook.com.
We offer a free book on mesothelioma. Call for the free book and receive so much more. Call 1-800-831-3700.
Wow. And you are looking live at the Canadian Parliament, where any moment now we're expecting to see the President in Ottawa, where he will address the Canadian Parliament. And next hour, the President and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will speak to reporters. Of course, we'll bring that to you as it happens.
CNN's Paula Mooney is live for us in Ottawa. And Paula, this is a chance for President Biden to repair some of the the strain and the fractures that were festering during the Trump administration.
Absolutely, and that came in addition to what the fine point of saying that even during the Trump administration, that they were able to get things done. So then if you fast forward here to 2023, I mean, these guys, Boris Justin, go by Justin and Joe, and given that personal rapport, as we can see right now, in fact, Joe Biden is coming out and he is about to deliver an address to Parliament. I want to say that this address to Parliament will be historic in many ways. It's going to follow in the footsteps of Kennedy, and Clinton and Obama and Reagan, and these will be the historic remarks again underscoring really what is a unique relationship around the world in terms of how close these allies are. But getting back to your point, Boris, about disagreement, look, these two administrations have disagreements as well, and they will get to the hard facts of that after this address to Parliament in that press conference. In that press conference, in fact, they will be able to address a thorny issue with the United States for many years, and that's Canada's defense spending. Given the new geopolitical reality, we are told that Canada is coming to the table with certainly billions more. The issue is the timeline, and that involves things like defense spending, whether it's NORAD or NATO or Arctic security, and we expect to hear more on that. Boris, Jessica?
Pauline Forrest in Ottawa will of course bring you that address from President Biden. I'll bring it to you live as soon as it happens. The nation's second largest school district reopens today following a massive 3-day strike over wages and better working conditions, but still no deal in sight. Hey, what comes next?
I can't believe this is how you kids talk to your friends. This is talking. Did you have a nice day? Look at the size of this butterfly. Ginormous. Butterfly. Now she's talking.
Way back
The Subaru Crosstrek. Don't test it. Don't prove it. Love. It's amazing.
This is governing not
You
today.
never know what opportunities life will send your way. But if you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis, Embo can help you say, I'm in.
Close the door here.
Willing to put yourself out there to try something new? I'm in. And for a seated tonight game, I'm in. Upgrading a home court? Embo helps relieve joint pain and helps stop permanent joint damage. And with less pain, you're free to join in. Embo may lower your ability to fight infections, serious, sometimes fatal events including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace with fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or pains. Don't start Embo if you have an infection like the flu. When opportunities come your way, be ready to say, I'm in for what's next. Ask your doctor about Embo.
Double check that. That's pretty good. That's right. Check that. Don't worry about that. Here we go.
asking the right question.
Okay, what time is
Are you
it?
qualified to do this?
Especially when it comes
I
to
had it
finance.
on there.
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's got to be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at let'smakeaplan.com.
What does it mean to be ever better? Is your customers getting what they ordered when they expect it? Discover how better e-commerce makes your customers' experience ever better.
So what are we eating today? Join me, Eva Laboria, on a brand new culinary adventure. First up, Mexican steak.
You want on?
You have to come here when you're next to the thing.
Eva Longoria searching for Mexico. New Sunday at 10 on CNN.
GBS TV Plus. GBS Coast. You got on your GBS on demand. No changing it. It's GBS. GBS. It's TV. It's smooth. Because you can record 10 shows.
This baby. I said, oh, she's going to get up.
GBS TV Plus. 30,000 features. Upgrade today.
Watch Major League Soccer all season long on FS1 with GBS TV.
With Jake Tapper, CNN Prime Time tonight at 9.
And you are looking live at Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is addressing Canadian Parliament. We are waiting to hear from, you see him there, President Joe Biden, who is there in Canada. Of course, we will bring that to you live as soon as it happens again. Parliament, and then we'll take questions a little bit later in the day. We'll be bringing both of those events to you live. We're keeping our eye on that, but first, we're going to turn to California. We're going to the Los Angeles Unified School District are back in the
That
classroom.
guy's behind by him, the fourth rock.
The union representatives stand up Thursday, but the contact still hasn't been resolved.
The 24th.
Los Angeles Forest. I mean, look, the strike is over, but again, there's no.
You want to fight?
What happens next?
Hey Boris, Jessica, well, what happens next is that there will be conversations behind closed doors, and now we know that LA County, or the LA City Mayor, Karen Bass, is also involved in these conversations.
I don't you want like to run it up against the bed? You don't mean to.
And the last offer we heard from the district is an increase
Wow, assholes. Social Security. I have not missed a call. And I know, I'm going to say, I went to plantar fasciitis to love it. They did tests on it. I've been going back and forth to the Lovington. They thought it's still plantar fasciitis all through Thanksgiving. Then I went back to Christmas. It hurt. I couldn't walk. Then January 2nd, I went out here. They told me it was inflammation. And then finally, Dr. Carver found it in February, and I can't walk still. I'm on Eliquis and blah, 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 if they call. They should if I made an appointment in the office. I didn't miss a bump. I took it into the store. That's why I knew he called me. So what's he doing? Is he not hearing it? I got treats just a minute, okay?
Now, both sides say that this is going to be historic, even when they come to an agreement. The superintendent say that this is going to be an example for many across the country when it comes to these contract negotiations, and the union saying that this should be a wake-up call for many others to invest in education because they see in these workers who are going to have better schools and better education. Jessica Forrest.
Right, more to come. We're all in Los Angeles. Forrest, thanks so much for that update.
And we are still monitoring these live images from the Canadian Parliament where President Biden is set to speak at any moment. He's actually being introduced right now by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We'll, of course, bring you President Biden's address in moments. Stay with us.
The Kennedy Center presents the March 20 Prize for American Youth, celebrating Adult Center with special guests Sunday at 8, exclusively on CNN. Wells Fargo, presenting sponsor of the Kennedy Center March 20 Prize.
It's easy to get lost in investment research. Introducing JP Morgan Personal Advisors. Connect an advisor to create your personalized plan with the right investments for your goals.
Okay, great.
JP Morgan Wealth Management.
You're that's for just a minute. You wanna look at them before I open it?
So many ways to save. Wallet happy. That's 365 by Whole Foods Market.
Your nightmare's got just what you need for your home. They have stylish beds at great prices.
That is Julie. The color collection? Yes. And you're in our bed? Yes. What about 5-star dining set? Sorry to have a reservation. Kelly Clark's.
I love your work.
Find just what you need in Wayfair, even a personal summer.
Wayfair. Wow. Susie, with Paycom, employees do their own payroll. What's Paycom? A magic payroll key? It's a payroll app.
Payroll is way too complicated for the average person.
Bigger duplicate punches, pending expenses, unapproved PTO, on and on.
Why would employees want to do all this?
This could be a stretch, but I think it's because they want to get paid correctly. I like getting paid correctly.
Have you or anyone you know ever been stationed at Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune? Camp Lejeune's water was contaminated by fuel leaks. If you had any water contact while at Camp Lejeune and been diagnosed with cancer or Parkinson's disease, you may be entitled to compensation. As a Marine who was stationed at Camp Lejeune for 4 years, this cost is close to home. So if you've been stationed or visited Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune and have cancer or Parkinson's, visit CampLejeuneInjury.com. Morgan and Morgan for the veterans.
When moderate to severe ulcerative colitis keeps flaring, put it in check with Rinvoq, a once daily pill.
When you see how unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq and left bath emergency behind. Check.
When you see that in my way, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when my gastro saw damage, Rinvoq helps physically repair the colon lining. Check.
Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to physically repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occurred. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take if allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Put UC in check and keep it there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastro about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.
With fast signs, signage that gets you witnessed turns hot blocks into homes. Fast signs make your statement. Duh.
Yeah, nice face. Clearly a safe driver. You can save hundreds of safe driving videos. They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Woo! You gotta go get it.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Closed captioning brought to you by InventHelp. Call 1-800-710-0020.
You have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp today. They can help you get started with your idea.
Call now. 800-710-0020.
The CDC reports 2 more deaths have been linked to a rare bacteria found in eye drops that were voluntarily recalled last month. That brings the total number of deaths to 3, all in connection with eye drops distributed by EzraCare and Belson Pharma. Some eyeballs have even had to be surgically removed.
CNN's Elizabeth Cohen joins us now with the very latest. And Elizabeth, CNN spoke exclusively with people who said that they were injured by these eye drops. What did they share?
Right, Forrest, these are eye drops that you can just get over the counter at many drugstores. I mean, not now, but at the time. And these ladies, they just had dry eyes. It was nothing terribly complicated. And they said that they had pain that evolved and got worse. I want to introduce you to 3 of them rather. The first one is Nancy Monks. She lives in Ohio. She had an ulcer on her cornea after using drops. She was hospitalized and she lost vision in her eye. And then the second one is Clara Olivia. She had her right eyeball removed and is now legally blind. And then thirdly, Renee Martre. She does have her vision, but she says that now it feels like She is looking through eyeglasses covered in oil. That's how she described what her vision is. So these three ladies are not the only people who have had issues. Let's talk about what the CDC says. They said 16 people have had infections in 16 states. 8 people have lost their vision. 4 people, including the one we just mentioned, have had eyeballs surgically removed, and there have been 3 deaths. Ezra Care, which is the company that makes these drops, said, as of today, we are not aware of any testing that definitively links the Pseudomonas aeruginosa outbreak to Ezra Care artificial tears. Nonetheless, we immediately took action to stop any further discussion of Care artificial tears. To the greatest extent possible, we have been contacting customers to advise them against continued use of the product. Now, obviously, if you have this product in your cabinet, you should not be using it. And if you did use it and you have symptoms, you should be seeing your eye doctor. Boris, Jessica?
Yeah, see the doctor immediately. All right, Elizabeth Cohen, thanks so much for bringing that to us. Any moment now, President Joe Biden will address the Canadian Parliament. They're looking now at Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada. He's being introduced by Trudeau. I'm going to bring the President's address to you live.
Next on Behind the Scenes, that run with the champ was magic. The tender chicken, peppercorn ranch. I love my ranch. I cherish that lunch forever. The Subway Series, greatest song of all time.
It's just Nancy.
Oh, I get it. You're on Gen Z now.
Not exactly. Right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices and look at service instantly.
Sounds easy.
Super easy. Start your home project at Nancy.com.
A feeling this electric is inviting. Fortunately, you're invited. Experience the innovation of electrification. Invitation to Lexus sales event.
Scared these payroll forms? My business payroll taxes will calculate themselves, right? Nope. Into it quickly. It helps you manage payroll taxes. Cheers. With 100% accurate tax calculations guaranteed.
Introducing new sweet and savory crepes. For a limited time, buy one, get one free. With 5 flavors that are delicious and tempting. Only for my mom. Download the app for free food with every order.
Own a small to medium-sized business? You may qualify for the Employer Retention Tax Credit up to $26,000 per employee. Not alone, the money is yours if your business suffered during COVID with revenue drops or government shutdowns. Time is limited. Go to refundspro.com now. Takes 5 minutes, and the average refund is $250,000. Refundspro.com, no refund, no fee promise.
All across the country,
I ain't
people are
calling
working
them.
hard to build a
I
better
know
future.
she's calling.
So we're hard at work, helping them achieve financial freedom. We're proud to serve people everywhere in investing for the retirement they envision. From the plains to the coasts, we help Americans invest for their future and help communities thrive. Invested in the future of Americans. BlackRock.
If your business kept on employees through the pandemic, GetRefunds.com can see if it may qualify for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee, even if it received PPP. And all it takes is 8 minutes to get started. Then we'll work with you to fill out your forms and submit the application. That easy. And if your business doesn't get paid, we don't get paid. GetRefunds.com has helped businesses like yours claim over $2 billion, but it's only available for a limited time. Go to GetRefunds.com, powered by Innovation Refunds. Tonight on CNN Primetime, Ted Lasso's Jason Sudeikis joins Jake Tapper. His Emmy Award-winning show is back for a new season as he talks one-on-one about the show's focus on mental health and the cast's recent visit to the White House. CNN Primetime tonight at 9. I'm
Crushed steel and shattered glass left you with a devastating injury. Don't make a mistake that can cost you money. We're a powerful law firm on your side. Call 1-800-2-KELLER. Keller and Keller.
More Furniture is making it easy to get all of our spring arrivals into your home for summer and
entertainment during our exclusive signature-only event. Get 72 months interest-free financing with no money down and only your signature. Spring arrivals are ready for delivery, just in time for the refreshing. So why not get all the looks you love with only your signature and take 72 months to pay? Visit onefurniture.com to fill your shopping cart or chat online with a design specialist today. Motorcycle accidents happen fast.
The driver never saw me. I wasn't going to let a big insurance company tell me what my case was worth.
Call 1-800-2-KELP. Keller and Kelp.
They made the insurance company pay, and there was never a fee until they won my case.
This is CNN, the world's news network.
As we await President Biden's speech to the Canadian Parliament, we are also watching the courtroom in Park City, Utah today, where actress Gwyneth Paltrow, seen here entering the courthouse this morning, could potentially take a stand today in a trial over a skiing accident that happened in 2016.
76-year-old Terry Sanderson is suing Paltrow for $300,000, claiming she skied recklessly into him at a Utah resort, causing him lasting injuries and brain damage. Paltrow is countersuing, claiming Sanderson skied into her. Let's bring in CNN's Chloe Moss. And Chloe, this seems like a consequential day in this trial.
Well, it is, because this has been 7 years in the making, and we are supposed to hear from Gwyneth Paltrow herself, finally, because we know that she denies skiing into Terry Sanderson, who claims that he had 4 broken ribs and brain injuries. His children, 2 of his daughters, one today, crying on the stand, saying, how that her father was impacted cognitively and that he was never the same. Gwyneth denies that this happened. He says that he skied into her and that she was downhill. No cameras of what happened that day. This is only based on eyewitness testimony, and we're going to hear from Gwyneth, potentially from Terry Sanderson. They're on a lunch break right now, and there you see Gwyneth from the other day. The camera is not on Gwyneth Paltrow anymore. She's asked for the camera to not be focused on her. So really, we only see the lawyers